Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to The Boys, Season 2, Episode 6. So, with Compound V released to the press, everything is kind of progressing interestingly. We have a lot going on with A-Train, we have a lot going on with Homelander, Starlight is confronting Bitches McGee. I'm just gonna call her that for now. And the boys have had to deal with Black Noir coming after them, but managed to get it handled. There's a lot of shit going on, as there always is with the show. And I'm just wondering where this is going to go, because with this episode, there's 3 episodes left. There's this episode and 2 more. So, how are we going to close out this season? Because season 1 closed out on some big shit, especially with the murder of Madeline Stillwell by Homelander. So, how is season 2 going to close? I mean, Butcher is still, or rather, is reinvigorated into getting his wife Becca out. And presumably, hopefully, he's going to genuinely try to get her son out as well. But he is reinvigorated in that cause. We still have Kimiko showing trouble. Just not really doing well after her brother's murder and everything. And Frenchie trying to help. Homelander is a ticking time bomb. He's already killed Doppelganger. Who knows what he's going to do next? Yeah, it's just, there's so much going on. It's hard to even remember note everything because of it. But I am interested to see where this goes. I'm very excited, very curious, if nothing else. There's been a lot of big revelations this season, a lot of new characters brought up, a lot of interesting mysteries. We still don't know anything about the entire head popping incident with the deputy director. Like, we still don't know how or why that happened. So there's still that too. I just have no idea where this is going to go. So, we'll find out. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, yeah. Some interesting stuff this episode, but before anything, I want to point out, I didn't say anything during the reaction for a couple reasons. Mostly because I was not surprised. It just didn't surprise me at all. But also because I knew I was going to talk about it in the afterthoughts. I knew the episode was coming to an end soon anyway. But it's very clear from the pictures and everything that Stormfront was showing Homelander. From the pictures, from the context of everything, she's a Nazi. We saw the swastika in that picture. She was a German born in Berlin in 1919, which would have put her at a fair age for that. She worked alongside known Nazis, married one, and yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all because we've seen how she is. We've seen her racism. We've seen her just extreme, horrific evil. It's not a surprise in the slightest. And this is, it's as she said, this is basically why she loves Homelander. Because it's like, think about it. Homelander is kind of the perfect representation of the quote unquote Aryan race that the Nazis so highly looked upon. He's the perfect example of that. He's everything like that would be a perfect representation for the ideology, plus with his own beliefs and actions and the way he's acted towards people, of course. Like, it's obvious he holds a lot of these same bigotries. It's not even really hidden. So it's like, oh yeah, it's super blatant. And we also find out that Stormfront was the first soup, the first successful soup created. And all of that eventually created the superhuman society that we have in the current day. So that's interesting. Um, so a lot of big information there, and because of course the dog had to start barking because the male person came by. So sorry about that, but there's a lot of big information there. And it looks like even though they had a little bit of a rocky patch, Stormfront and Homelander are still in a relationship, which is still very bad. Because we don't need those two to be in a relationship together. Nope. Not at all. We do not need those two to be doing anything at all, whether alone or together. They just need to die, preferably. I mean, one of them is a literal Nazi, so she needs to die just for that. And then the other, I mean, practically in everything but name is one as well. That's like, they're both absolutely horrible. They're both absolutely evil. And both need to be taken out with extreme prejudice. I'm not even going to, like, sugarcoat that. People like that, like, who are just that irredeemably evil, need to be taken out. It's the one case basically where I do not give a shit. Because with normal cases, with people in general, and just the most, you know, generalized scenarios and everything, I'm very much against stuff like the death penalty because I believe it's barbaric and disgusting for the government to decide to put someone to death. And most of the time, a lot of these people who are put to death by the death penalty can be rehabilitated. And it's just like the government just wouldn't care. A lot of them actually regret the actions they've taken. A lot of them very much hate themselves for it. That's not always the case, mind you, but still. But then you have like that. But when it comes to people who are legitimately this full out evil, who have no regrets at all, and are basically like on the level of like, oh, they would do it again if given the chance. People who are so blatantly and violently evil that they kill for fun, that they like to hurt people and kill people, that their bigotries and evil thoughts and views shape that as well. Those kind of people, it's just like I have absolutely zero chill for. I will not I will not even pretend to be willing to give them a chance. Because people like that have proven that they're irredeemable. They don't want to change because they don't think there's anything wrong with them. They're psychopaths and sociopaths. Well, no, they're just psychopaths because sociopaths know what they're doing is wrong. They just don't care. Well, okay, maybe they could be sociopaths too. Yeah, they could still be sociopaths because they could still know what they're doing is wrong. But they're psychopaths, they're sociopaths, they're people who either don't know what they're doing is wrong or just don't care. But the point is that they are fully, actively, willingly doing this shit and are willing to do it again. And there are people like this in real life. It's not just like an over exaggeration for a comic or the TV series that is based on the comic. There are real people this bad, just obviously without the superpowers. And it's horrific. It's absolutely stunningly horrific. It is the worst of the worst. Anyone who could be like this. And yeah, that includes Nazis, obviously. And as harsh as it may sound, like I said, I don't give any fucks about this. In this regard, I do believe that they should die. That they are an active danger to all of humanity and that they need to die. The only time I would ever give them even a slight chance to just, you know, move forward is if they showed genuine regret and desire to change. But the problem is very few do. There are some who have, and there are people who used to be Nazis who have disavowed the Nazi Party and its ideals completely. It has happened. I mean, there's an entire movie about it, Schindler's List. Um, he ended up turning on the Nazis and helping the Jews, which was all things considered great. So there's that. But again, that's not what happened for most people. Most of the Nazis did not disavow this. Most of them stood by their beliefs. And it's like, and I again, I'm not going to sugarcoat. I'm not going to like even attempt to be nice about that. Those people who refuse to disavow those kind of views deserve to die. 100%. Again, I know it sounds harsh. I know it sounds mean. I know it sounds wrong in a lot of ways. But again, they're actively a threat to humanity. And if there's no willingness to change, if there's no willingness to become a better person and completely leave that old life behind, then in order to protect people, in order to save people's lives, you need to actively stop that by taking them out. And I personally could probably never do it myself. I could never like pull the trigger, basically, to use that phrase, that term. Um, I would have trouble doing that, of course. Even in like a self-defense situation, I would have trouble pulling the trigger or even defending myself, just killing someone in any way. That's just how I am. But I still think that they deserve death, even if I can't, even if I wouldn't be the one who would do it. But I've talked a bit long about just that section, so let's talk about the rest of this episode. So this episode was very Frenchie focused in a lot of ways. So we learn a bit about Frenchie's backstory. Cherie wasn't the only friend he had from his past. There was another named Jay, who, as we find out in the episode, ended up overdosing. Now, he didn't die from the first overdose. He did manage to get saved, but Frenchie never saw him again after that point, and he eventually died of another overdose later on. And the reason this eats up even more at Frenchie is because of the situation. He had been following Lamplighter, and when Lamplighter was at a club and everything, he got a call that Jay had OD'd and everything, so he went and had to check on him and tried to help and did what he could, but had to leave like 30 minutes later. He couldn't find Lamplighter, and it was at that point that Lamplighter ended up killing Mallory's grandchildren. We find out though that he didn't do it on purpose. He thought it was Mallory herself, and so it's even stuck with him for all these years. In the current day, he is working at this care facility that Vought is using to basically stabilize unstable soups so that Compound V can be given to adults and we could just make a complete superhuman society so that it doesn't need to like be given like basically at birth and stuff. It's anyone can just become a superhero at any point, basically, is the idea. Which is obviously not a good thing. But yeah. So our team, the boys, go in and things end up going wrong when Frenchie and Lamplighter recognize each other. And a fight starts that ends up releasing some of the prisoners and causes a big old riot. So they end up having to work alongside Lamplighter to get it out, but there's some issues with the different patients and everything. There's issues with everything going on with the other person who happens to be there, comes and goes, it seems, with Starlight. Or not Starlight. Stormfront. She comes and goes, so that's a problem. And these patients are not, like, pushovers, for the most part. They seem to have, like, legitimate powers, and it makes them a danger. There's this one person we saw, they have, like, these telekinetic powers, can, like, move and crush things with their mind and all. Also, considering how many times they were shot up, I have to assume that they probably have some kind of invulnerability as well. But yeah, we saw that they escaped in the end, so that's probably going to be important. But then there's this guy who can Mr. Fantastic his penis, and it's just, oh, I hate it. It's like the instant I saw the tentacle, like, and everything, it's like I noticed the shape of it, and it's like I was really hoping that wasn't going to be the case, and it was just me having a dirty mind or something. Like, I would have preferred that, but no, I was right. And it's like, oh my god, that's oh my god. It's like, it's just so gross. Like, I mean, I'm sure that could be fun in the bedroom and everything, but in terms of just in terms of just a situation like this, it's just so fucking gross and weird, and oh, And then there's this guy who can spit acid, but they end up stopping him, making him spit acid into his own mouth and all over his face and everything. And it's like it just melts his entire face away. And it's just like, oh. So yeah, fun. A lot of fun. And we also see in this episode that Frenchie has like this little. He finally apologizes to Kimiko. He tells her that he was wrong to try and control her, to try and save her, and that it was all kind of like him trying to make up for what happened in the past and all. And it seems like they're going to let Lamplighter live, but they're going to try to figure out some other punishment for him, so we'll see how that goes. Meanwhile, Huey, Butcher, and Starlight were all just waiting for the others outside when they end up getting accidentally attacked by a patient who I do believe did not intend to hurt them. But Butcher kills the patient and they go over to the van where they find that Huey is really badly injured. So they kind of have to get him to safety to a hospital to save him. On their way, they end up finding this guy. They get this guy to pull over in his car, and it's Jason Gray Stanford, the actor who played Lieutenant Randy Disher in Monk, and that's amazing. I recognized him instantly because I watched Monk so actively back in the day. It was one of my favorite shows. So it's like, and he was such a hilarious, fun, memorable character. It's just instant recognition. um, but yeah, so they're trying to negotiate with him, trying to talk to him, but he doesn't believe them. He thinks that this is like some kind of scam, and so he pulls a gun, and so Starlight presumably kills him. Based on the kind of evidence that was given and everything, I assume she did. And we find out that she's kind of growing cold to it all because her only thought in the moment was, why did he have to pull a gun? It wasn't like regret or anything for having to kill him. It's just like more like, why did he have to do that? And then they do finally get to the hospital after Starlight uses some of the electricity to cauterize Huey's wound. They get him there though, and she and Butcher actually share a little bit of a moment, um, bonding slightly over the fact that Huey uses all these kinds of cutesy care products and stuff like L'Oreal for kids shampoo and stuff. And it's like, by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. Just saying, there's absolutely nothing wrong with any of the products he was using, except maybe Axe body spray. Like maybe a little something wrong with that. Because let's be honest, that stuff smells like shit. And the funny thing is, I used to use it, so I can say that from experience. It smells like shit. It never smelled good. Um, I used it when I was like in middle school and high school, and I regret it. But it's like, yeah. Otherwise, it's like the other care products are like fine, nothing wrong with any of that. But it's cool seeing those two kind of bond a little bit. Um, it's really nice to see that he is warming up to her. He is starting to accept her a little more, and she is starting to, well, get more into their side of things, even if she doesn't want to admit it. We also see a bit of A Train going with the Deep to meet Alistair at the church. And although he's a little offended and doesn't want to be there at first and tries to leave, he is convinced to stay, and they have like a little therapy kind of thing going on. Um, and yeah, like we got to see more of the relationship with Stormfront and Homelander, and it's like it kind of had a rocky bit in the middle when Homelander found out she was lying to him, but they kind of made up in the end when she revealed everything all of her past to him and her true age and everything. So I'm trying to think. 1919. So she's basically 100 years old then. Because I don't know exactly when this series like takes place in terms of year and everything. I assume it's the current year, 20, somewhere between 2019 and 2020. I would assume somewhere between, it's 2 years, but somewhere in that area, I assume is when this series actually like takes place. So she's basically 100 years old from 1919 to 2019, basically, just give or take a year. And it's like, okay. I mean, we kind of assumed she was older, but it's like just thinking about that she's that much older is like wild, kind of. And so, yeah, that's kind of like just part of the power she got as being the first successful soup. Um, Interesting. And we saw her with her daughter, who was elderly in that picture and everything. So yeah, kind of brought it full circle with this, with these afterthoughts, starting with the stuff with Homelander and Stormfront, and ending with it. But I probably missed something. It's very probable, not even possible, but probable that I missed something. Oh, Queen Maeve. Yeah, Queen Maeve. She was taking a shower. Her girlfriend found the phone with the footage of the plane incident from season 1, and Maeve said she was going to blackmail Homelander over it. And I don't think that would work. I just think Homelander would kill her, even if she tried to say, "Oh, if you kill me, like I have it set up so this will be leaked anyway." It's like I don't think that would work with him. I just don't. Like other soups, you could probably blackmail a lot easier, but I don't see it working with him. Not even for Maeve. He would 100% kill her. Like I don't think he would care in the end. So yeah, but I don't know. Maybe we'll see. I don't know if she's going to go ahead with it because it looks like her girlfriend was not really pleased with the situation. And it's like she said though, it's like what was she going to do? She was scared. She didn't really have a way to like stop Homelander there. She would have just been killed as well. They literally nothing she could have done there would have stopped Homelander from allowing all these people to die or killing them himself even. It just would not have happened. It would not have changed anything. Like you could argue that yeah, she should have at least tried, and you could argue that, but in the end it would just be her death too, and it's like there was no good option, to put it simply. There was no good option. No matter what Maeve did, it would have they would have died anyways. So it's like you gotta just there's no real right or wrong in a situation like that because it's just entirely wrong. There's no good option. No matter what you do, you're making a bad choice. So you can't really blame her for that because the other choice would have been bad too. It's just an entirely fucked up situation. But let's end these afterthoughts off here. If I did forget anything else, please just you can let me know. And if you want to know anything specific that I missed, my thoughts on it, I can tell you down in the comments. But yeah, so we have 2 episodes left, and I just wonder how this is going to end. There's all these different plot points. I'm wondering how this season is going to end. We'll see. So when let's just I almost was gonna sign off like I do for the pre thoughts. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, and for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.